Yeah, I have come to the conclusion, and it was something someone gave me this advice, is that really there's no such thing as failure. It's really just feedback because most people are not really 100%, successful in the first thing they do or the first iteration. They've got to get the feedback. They've got to learn what worked, what didn't work, and move ahead. I mean, I know that I've started several businesses, and I've usually had a nice pro forma worked out. I've yet to have one that actually met the pro forma. It's always, you know, it's always like based on things going perfectly, which they never do. That's the only 100%. Things don't go perfectly, but some go quicker than others. So yeah, you just have to keep going. I think it's been shown that really the most successful businesses have had multiple little mini failures along the way until they just hit their stride and just, resonated.
Welcome to the Licensed to Live show, where professionals, doctors, champions, VIPs, attorneys, and those in public office discover strategies that help you restart and gain what is lost when you find yourself accused. If another has doubted your integrity, questioned your credentials, or caused your actions to come under scrutiny, you are in the right place. On the other hand, if you have never felt the knot in the pit of your stomach when legal papers are served, the heartbreak of disappointing your family when the lock clicks shut on handcuffs, or had to appear before a board of review, then be aware, the longer you serve, the more likely you are to find yourself under the microscope of those who judge. Prepare yourself for this uncomfortable possibility. Now, here's your host, Dr. Jarrett Patton.
Welcome to episode 99 of License to Live. My name is Dr. Jarrett Patton, and I'm your host for our journey together today and every day you choose to listen to this show. If you or anyone you know has been dissed in their career, please invite them to join us along this journey. Go to anywhere you listen to podcasts and subscribe. You guys always know what I'm talking about when you get dissed. It could be disrespected, displaced, disgruntled, disenfranchised. And today we have a show with family medicine physician, non-clinical careers expert, Dr. John Jurica. He'll be joining us today. And I can't wait to get started listening to all the things he's been up to since the last time he was on the show a couple years ago. So we will get into that right after a word from our sponsors.
Something smells good. EH3 coffee. EH3 coffee. Premium organic. Nothing better than waking up. EH3 in your cup. Premium organic. EH3 coffee. Nothing better than in the middle of your day. EH3 coffee. Premium organic. EH3 coffee.
Hey, this is Dr. Jarrett Patton. Do you need more positivity in your life? No matter what part of your life you want to transform, positive affirmations can help you achieve your goals. But sometimes making permanent changes can be difficult. Designed with you in mind, License to Live. Daily affirmations to rebuild your life will inspire and equip you to become the best version of yourself. License to Live. Daily affirmations to rebuild your life will set you on the path to changing your mindset, beliefs, speech, and ultimately your actions. You can change your life now by getting your copy at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your finer book retails, or licensedtolive.com. That's licensedtolive.com.
This is Super Bowl champion Mike Logan, and you are listening to License to Live.
Welcome back to the show, Dr. Jurica. It is so good to have you here, Dr. John. It's been a while since we've talked on the show, and I'm so happy to have you back.
I am very happy to be here. It's great to talk with you, Dr. Jarrett. It's been a little while, and I'm just looking forward to our conversation.
Well, let's get right into it. Dr. John, I mean, you've been busy doing a lot of things over the last couple of years. I mean, I know you're speaking on stages. In fact, you spoke on the License to Live, the conference stage 2021 live and in Philadelphia, and you delivered such a wonderful address on non-clinical career options that we could go for and be able to try to attain in our lives. And you're doing so many different things. And if for the fire starters out there who have not heard the original episode that we did together, I want them to understand how you became the non-clinical career expert.
Well, I appreciate that moniker. That's nice. But I have spent a lot of time studying non-clinical careers. So here's the short version. I was a family physician. I was looking for moonlighting opportunities, and the things I got into early on in my career as a family physician and working in the hospitals. I became a physician advisor for and then I became a medical director. And I was attracted to those things, I think, not just because I needed a little extra money, but I found them interesting. And that eventually segued into a position as chief medical officer. And I actually left clinical medicine because I was disgruntled and I was disappointed, and I don't know. I really was burned out, basically, like a lot of us. So I did that for 14 years. And then I left to open an urgent care center. And at about that time, I was just thinking about, how other physicians are in the same situation. And whether it's through the story that you've told about yourself, whether we just find out we just don't like medicine, or we're forced out of medicine, or we become disabled, or we're burnt out. There's so many reasons. I just thought, well, I don't see a lot of people talking about this other than the burnout aspect. So I started a blog, but then I quickly segued into a podcast. And I thought, well, I want to learn more about non-clinical careers. I definitely was no expert at that time. So I just started doing interviews. And over time, I think I've done about 140 interviews in my 225 podcast episodes. And I just learned about all the options there are for non-traditional, non-clinical, full-time, part-time, home-based, not home-based, all kinds of things. I just keep building on that. I'm just fascinated by it. And there wasn't that much interest, it didn't seem 5 years ago, but now it's kind of exploded. I probably could find you 100 coaches right now that work on burnout and career transition, and lots of courses and Facebook groups and that. So there's a lot of interest, a lot of growth. And so I've continued to try to create new resources for my colleagues, mostly physicians, now more recently, any clinician that's working in healthcare. And so that's what I've been up to.
You never stop doing new things. You never stop trying to teach. You never stop trying to engage. You're extremely active on Facebook with your Facebook group. We'll have links in there to the show. And you're always trying to connect people, inform people, get them to look at different pathways in their job, because all too often we're kind of taught and led down we know how to work in hospitals kind of career line. And so we kind of march down that path without even looking to the left of you or looking to the right of you. You walk down that pathway, and sometimes you end up unhappy and you're not quite in the place where you thought you wanted to be, or you didn't walk into the career that you had visualized because, well, you didn't really know any better, and you kind of had an idea of what it may have been, but it turned out not to be that in actuality. So the work that you're doing helps inspire and engage with people, thousands of docs that are out there. So appreciating what you're doing with your courses and some of your other advanced work, it continues on. And there's no shortage of people being woken up during this COVID crisis and pandemic we've been having, as far as the great resignation, people waking up saying, all right, I've had enough. I can't do this anymore. I quit. And some people are coming back to the great reawakening and saying, well, maybe I do have more value. Maybe I do have a deeper skill set than just kind of being robotic throughout my day. And these are the kind of options that are there. So thanks for bringing this to light and continuing to carry on this torch, because I wanted people to know how you became the expert around non-clinical careers. And it really is through your years of experience. And we thank you for that. Now, I have to know, since the last time we talked, which was back in July, we saw each other in person at the conference. But I need to know, have you been dissed?
Have I been dissed? Well, I kind of mentioned a couple of the disses. Actually, one of the disses that I had a couple of years ago, and maybe it's a little different from the ones you usually hear about, but my partner in business, Tom Davis, and I were working on this thing called the Clinicians Career Cooperative because we were trying to figure out a better way to bring more people together and maybe even expand it to non-physicians because we've mostly focused on physicians. And I had a big disappointment because it kind of flopped. We spent about a year and, I knew from the beginning it was, limited. It wasn't really something that the younger physicians resonated with. That'll lead to what I'll tell you about later about what we are doing now. And it was kind of a classic forum and it would have different subcategories, but you really need to have something like that, like a Facebook group. You need 3, 4, 500, 700 is the number I've heard as a minimum to get something really viable of that nature. That's just like a forum or a Facebook group. So it kind of we closed it down after a while. It didn't go anywhere. So I was very disappointed by that, but we've gotten back together and come up with something else that we think people are going to be excited about. So that's been our recovery from that, I guess.
Disappointment happens in so many different ways. And so thank you for sharing that diss. And particularly when you're in business and you're an entrepreneur like yourself, Dr. John, sometimes things work out to the benefit and you had a plan and you executed the plan and it went forward as planned. And it was like, this is a great success. But sometimes you make a great plan, have a great idea, and the execution even is good still, but it doesn't work out as you planned. And learning from that disappointment can be a big thing. So as you have started to turn a new page away from that project into the new project we're going to talk about, I just want people to understand the lesson and maybe even the thought-making process that you went through to that point. Because sometimes when you have a baby and sometimes you have something that's near and dear to you, it's hard to let them go. That's very hard to do. And would you just take a moment and tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I have come to the conclusion, and it was something someone gave me this advice, is that really there's no such thing as failure. It's really just feedback because most people are not really 100%, successful in the first thing they do or the first iteration. They've got to get the feedback. They've got to learn what worked, what didn't work, and move ahead. I mean, I know that I've started several businesses, and I've usually had a nice pro forma worked out. I've yet to have one that actually met the pro forma. It's always, it's always like based on things going perfectly, which they never do. That's the only 100%. Things don't go perfectly, but some go quicker than others. So yeah, you just have to keep going. I think it's been shown that really the most successful businesses have had multiple little mini failures along the way until they just hit their stride and just, resonated.
I love that aspect because you're absolutely right. Sometimes things don't work out and we can sit around and cry about it. We can moan about it. We can lament about it and maybe even use it to paralyze you from doing anything again, because maybe you don't want that. But it's not necessarily about the failing part. It's about the lessons that you do learn and the things that you can take away from that, because it's, life in and of itself is an experiment. And so some things go in the way that you wanted it to. Sometimes they don't. But that doesn't mean you have to just pack it up and say, oh, woe is me, and I'll never get this done again. You just actually say, all right, well, maybe this wasn't the right time. Maybe it wasn't the right place. Maybe it wasn't the right people involved. Maybe it wasn't so many different things that you can look at that and analyze it. And when you take yourself away from it, you can make that decision when it's not tied up with you emotionally.
I want to give you one other little example here. It might be a little bit off topic in a way, but my wife runs a home helpers agency. Okay. So she has caregivers in homes helping people. It's been very successful. The pandemic kind of hit it, but here's what happened. She bought another territory and closed on that like 2 months before the pandemic. So basically that territory went nowhere. It went sideways and then down. And,
Whoa.
we were both very frustrated, but the reality is how many companies went out of business during the pandemic? How many restaurants, how many barbershops, So, we hung in there, and it's the turnaround is coming now finally for that. But yeah, if you have that commitment, if you've shown that it's worked in the past, that you just cannot predict some of these hardships that show up. And I really have, I'm really sorry for the people that suffered so much, not only medically, clinically, and so forth, but financially. But it looks like maybe we're going to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And so just hang in there, learn from those mistakes, and keep moving forward.
I love that. And that's what we have to do in life, in your career, in general. Well, the clock doesn't stop. Time keeps moving forward, and we must too. And this brings me, we didn't really get a chance to get the affirmation of the day, but it's right in line with what you're talking about, Dr. John. So I'm just going to pause and give everybody the affirmation of the day right now. I find optimistic ways of dealing with difficulties. I find optimistic ways of dealing with difficulties. And you guys take a few moments. You can hit pause if you need to, but think about that. Think about the difficulties that come into your life. And you can always do some things that may put you in a tailspin, but there are also positive and optimistic ways in which you can solve these difficulties. And while we're talking about Dr. John here, and if you guys want more affirmations, I have them for days. You can get 30 free in my ebook. Just click the link in the show notes. But Dr. John has showed us that finding optimistic ways to deal with difficulties, even in the midst of a pandemic, using his wife's business as an example. You know what? Lots of us took hits during the pandemic. But there are some of us still around to tell the story, and we're still trying to do it, and we are doing it, just like Dr. John, just like his wife, and we must go on. So thank you for sharing that, because that's right on time. So learning from the lessons that you have had with maybe some of the startups that didn't go quite the way you've seen, you have a brand new app called NewScript that is out there, and I want you to tell people all about it.
Well, yes, I'm definitely going to tell you about it. But your comment and your affirmation is a good segue, because when we started this new app, one of the things that my partner, Tom Davis, is doing is he's
shout out to Tom.
Yeah. Hey, Tom. Anyway, he's doing some mini mentorships, and one of them involves affirmations. And so he has been going on every day and writing in his book the affirmation. It's the same affirmation every day. And he does a little picture or a video of him writing and saying the affirmation. I think he has to write it out 30 times. I forget. And he's doing that. And it's all about a course he's creating within this app. So it's just another good tie-in to what we're talking about today. So you mentioned that it's an app. And that's one of the things we came back with. We thought, wait a second, everybody's on their phones. They don't want to sit down at a big computer and spend just 2 minutes looking something up or getting a bit of encouragement or a hint or a clue or feedback from a comment. So when we kind of transformed this clinicians cooperative we did before into NewScript, we built it from the very beginning as an app that could be mostly accessed on the telephone, cell phone, really, smartphone. What am I saying? Telephone. I'm probably dialing with, but that's how old I am. Anyway. So that's the beginning of it, the way it's designed. And it's an app. It's more than just a community, because it's like a membership site. So there's a forum in there. We have daily posts. Anybody can post. You can message individuals in there. We have courses. We have events. We have live events. And pretty much anything you could think of in a very sophisticated forum/membership program. I put a couple of my courses in there for free. He has put a couple of his courses in there for free. They're going to continue to grow. Plus, we're at the very beginning stages of inviting other mentors. Obviously, he and I do not know everything, maybe close to it, but not quite. And we need other people in there. And the other reason we need that is because this app is designed not just for physicians, but really any licensed healthcare worker who's been dissed, in the past and needs a place to get together with others in there. A lot of what we learned over the years about career transition, I think you're obviously well aware of this, is it applies to everybody. I mean, we use the same method for the most part. I mean, you might not apply to the same job, but the process of creating a resume and following the steps and deciding what you want to do is very similar. So that's why we're inviting all of those different clinicians into it.
I think it's a great community in which we can all learn from each other. One of the things I noticed in my own practice is that, well, yeah, it kind of started with doctors and physicians, but it also, there were nurses that were suffering some of these same feelings, and there were healthcare executives that were feeling some of these same feelings. And so we're not unique to it, but we are a part of a community. We know that the healthcare system as it stands today is broken, and we need to do some things to fix it. At the same time, we need to do some things to fix some things in our lives. And I think building that community in NewScript is going to be one of those options people will have. How can people get a hold of this app?
So if you go into your iPhone or Apple store, you'll find it just by typing in NewScript, NewScript. So the way it sounds, there aren't any other apps that we found with that name. So it's the only one. You'll find it. Or you can go, there's a landing page or a home page that has a little more of an explanation if people want to think about it before they sign up. They would just go to newscript.app, A-P-P, that's .app. And it'll take you right to this page. It has a bunch of information about it, and they'll have a button there for the App Store and Google Play, and then you just sign up that way. Depending on when they hear this, by the way, I should tell you what the cost is. So our goal was to get the first 200 or so in there for free. We pretty much at that point. There might be a few more days. I know it just depends on when this is posted, but you're probably going to end up at a $5 per month cost is what it will be at the time. And I mentioned that because it's actually going to go up the bigger we get. There's a point where it just becomes more valuable in terms of what's in there, the amount of content and so forth. So for now, it's going to be $5 per month. You can join or sign up and leave anytime you like. So I would just say check it out and see if it's something that is engaging for you.
Well, I have to say, I already logged on to the app, and I already have started using it and making some friends, getting messages within there. And this is fun. It's a fun system to use. So it sounds like this is a limited situation. So, hey, if you guys need to stop this episode right now, go to your app store, check out NewScript, download it. You may get in for free. Maybe. I don't know. It's sounding like it's close. But if not, you can still get in for $5. And why not to check it out, see what's going on in there, because as the group grows, it will become more valuable.
Absolutely. And to everyone's benefit. I mean, that was the other mistake we made. I think we were charging $27.93 or some weird number for the clinicians cooperative. And really, I didn't think looking back, it was worth it. If we just make a minimal level, really just defray some of our costs, then I think we'll have a lot more people that get a lot more help, and it'll just be better for everybody.
Absolutely. So I mean, this is just another one of these tools that are in the toolbox that you can use to help navigate your way through this pathway. You don't have to go on this journey alone. You don't have to YouTube it to death. There are some resources that are out there that can help, and it builds community because, well, the bottom line is you're not in this thing alone. You may feel like it where you are today. You may feel some isolation. You may feel maybe you're an outcast. You may feel like you don't belong, but it doesn't have to stay this way. And this is what we talked about a few episodes about, just investing in yourself, investing a little time to figure out a plan, investing a little cash, maybe $5 a month to get an additional resource. And these are the things that we can do when we don't put too much value on the things that other people do. It's the little things you can do to improve yourself and to build yourself that can carry you a long way. Dr. John, I have to say, all these years we've known each other, you constantly are coming up with new and creative ideas that are here to help people. So I thank you for your creativity and for Dr. Tom as well, and your partnership that has brought so many things to life. I know that when I found out about NewScript, I said, well, I want to get in right now, because whenever I find out something from you, you're already working on stuff and it's already out there. And I just wanted to be a part of it because it's a part of a community that I feel very strongly about. So I encourage you guys to get the app, download it there, and go right there. Do you have any other kind of resources that you think could help people during this time, John?
Yeah, since I'm most well known for non-clinical careers, I put together just a simple handout that has 70 non-clinical jobs on it, because some people are like, well, I don't even know what to start looking at or for. So that's at nonclinicalphysicians.com/70 jobs, 70 jobs. That's it. And it's like 2.5 pages, and it actually has a resource for each job. So like a professional society or some other resource. So that's great. The other thing I wanted to say, though, Dr. Jarrett, is that, it seems like, well, what you were saying sounded like, well, I have all these great ideas. The thing is, it's from talking to people like you. You and I know there's like dozens of mentors and coaches that we interact with all the time. And, just Tom and I happen to get together on this project. But, I've learned from listening to you, and, I can name 20 other online coaches and mentors. And so, we're all learning from one another. And when we see a good idea, let's just run with it.
I'm all for that. I am all for that any time of the day. Thank you. Where can people find out more about you?
Probably the easiest way is to go to nonclinicalphysicians.com. That's where the 70 jobs things comes from. But the website's just nonclinicalphysicians.com with an S, physicians.com. And then you have to listen to my podcast. If anybody listening here today doesn't listen to my podcast, I'm going to find you. I'm going to track you down. And that's just Physician Non-Clinical Careers Podcast. And, I went through a dry spell in a way. I mean, I've made it every week and I've never missed one, but I was doing some solo episodes because I was just, I don't know, I was just a little burnt out on it. But I've got a whole bunch of new guests coming on the next few weeks. So it's going to be awesome.
This is what it takes. You've been doing this for 200 some odd episodes. You're going strong. People want to keep listening. So make sure you check out the podcast as well. You're going to get great information and great insight from the guests. Wow, we have covered so much today. I hope that you guys have been energized, have been just thoughtful, and just know that there are other things out there. And even if they don't go right, there's still another way. There's still another day. And as long as you're given the time, well, it's your time to make things happen. Dr. John, is there anything else you'd like to say to our audience today?
Yeah, I'd just like to remind people that it can be frustrating and sometimes not rewarding working in clinical medicine. I'm a little ambivalent because I would like there to be lots of doctors and nurses around to take care of me. But having said that, if you're not happy, if you're feeling like people aren't grateful for what you're doing, then you need to fix that. And there are lots of resources out there. And we've just talked about some today, but really don't live a life in misery. Move forward and try something new.
Final judgment. Licensed to live.
Absolutely. Always try something new. Thanks for coming on the show, Dr. John.
You're welcome. It's been my pleasure.
Remember, fire starters, if you or anyone you know has been dissed, please invite them to join us along this journey. Simply go to your favorite podcast distributor and subscribe to Licensed to Live. And in between episodes, I hang out on LinkedIn a lot, but now I'm going to be hanging out on NewScript a little bit more too. So make sure you connect with me in either place in between the episodes, because, hey, there's always stuff going on. And if you need a new fresh take, make sure you are checking out Dr. John Jurica's podcast as well. And until then, we will see you next time.
No matter how disheartening the moment of accusation sounds, how deep the pain of immobilization stabs, or how bleak your future looks, no one can take away your license to live. Keep Dr. Jarrett's expertise handy and unlock your future. Go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or another podcast player and subscribe right now to Licensed to Live. See you next time.